The desert was silent that night, save for the whispering wind and the distant howl of a coyote. Stars glittered like tiny fires above, painting the sky in black and silver. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary, until the horizon cracked with a sudden, blinding light. A streak of fire, moving faster than any shooting star, tore across the night sky, heading straight for the remote dunes. The sand trembled beneath it, and a low hum, almost a song, filled the air, vibrating in the bones of anyone who dared to stand still. Miles away, Dr. Ethan Cole, a young engineer with a taste for the unknown, was driving back from a late-night research trip. He had always been drawn to strange phenomena, to things no one could explain. The streak of light made him slam the brakes and stumble out of his truck. His eyes widened as the object slammed into the sand with a deafening roar, throwing up a wave of heat and dust. He ran toward it, ignoring the warning bells in his mind. Something told him this was not a meteor. As the dust settled, a strange metallic object came into view. It was small but unlike any spacecraft Ethan had ever seen in textbooks or movies. Its surface shimmered with colors that did not exist in the natural spectrum, flickering and flowing like liquid glass. He took a cautious step closer, each crunch of sand underfoot echoing too loudly in the eerie silence. Then he saw her. She was lying in the sand, small and fragile, yet radiating an energy that seemed to warp the air around her. Her skin glowed faintly, almost like moonlight, and her eyes, closed now, shimmered with traces of silver light beneath the lids. Ethan froze. He had seen reports of extraterrestrial life, even videos, but nothing prepared him for the raw, living presence of it. Her chest rose slowly, unevenly, as if she were fighting some internal battle. Instinct overrode hesitation. Ethan ran forward and crouched beside her. "Hey, can you hear me?" His voice sounded ridiculous in the vast desert. He reached out, expecting some recoil or aggression, but she did not flinch. Instead, her hand twitched toward his. A spark, faint and blue, arced between them. Ethan yelped and jerked back, but the spark lingered in the air, a tiny electric thread connecting them. Suddenly, the desert around them shivered. The air itself seemed alive. Ethan could feel a pulse, not in the ground, not in his own heart, but somewhere deeper, somewhere cosmic. The girl's eyes snapped open, glowing fully now, revealing irises that swirled with colors he could not name. She looked at him, not with fear, but with recognition. A wordless communication passed between them, a sense that she had been waiting for him, or that he had been waiting for her. The ground shook again, and Ethan's mind screamed warnings. He realized the crash had not gone unnoticed. Somewhere beyond the dunes, dark shadows moved against the faint starlight. Shapes too precise, too deliberate to be anything natural. Machines. Ships. Observers. He did not know their intentions, but instinct told him they were not here for greetings. "Stay with me," he whispered, though whether it was for her or himself, he could not tell. The alien girl struggled to sit, her body trembling with exhaustion. Her glowing hands brushed against his arm, and the same spark flared once more. This time, Ethan did not pull back. There was something in her energy, a pulse that matched the rhythm of his own heartbeat. Something told him she was not just a victim, she was a key. A key to something far larger than either of them could yet understand. A low rumble echoed across the desert. Ethan stood, shielding her behind him, scanning the horizon. The shadows were moving closer, silhouettes of ships reflecting the faint light of the burning wreck. Panic clawed at him, but he swallowed it down. He had to act, and fast. The girl's breathing was shallow, she would not survive another encounter without help. Suddenly, her eyes widened. Her voice, or a thought that sounded like a voice inside his head, reached him. "Run, or they will take everything." The words were not loud, not spoken, yet they hit him with more force than a shout. Without fully understanding why, he grabbed her hand. Her energy flared violently, reacting to the touch, and the desert around them seemed to bend, light distorting in strange waves. Ethan felt a shiver of both fear and awe. He did not wait to question what was happening. With every ounce of strength, he lifted her into his arms. Sparks danced along the edges of her skin, leaving trails of luminescent dust in the air. As they ran, the shadows on the horizon erupted, a wave of movement that suggested the hunt had begun. Ethan's mind raced. He had no weapons, no backup, only the desert and his resolve. And yet, somehow, he knew one truth. Letting her fall into their hands was unthinkable. This was bigger than him, bigger than Earth, but he could not, would not, let fear decide. The night swallowed them as they fled into the dunes, her glowing presence lighting a path through the dark. Each step carried suspense, a heartbeat away from discovery. Ethan felt history shifting beneath him, as if the universe itself was leaning closer, watching. And in that moment, the human and the alien girl, so different yet inexplicably connected, became the beginning of a story that could change the destiny of worlds. The desert was quiet again, but only for a moment. Ethan carried the girl through the shifting sands, each step heavier than the last, not because of the distance, but because of the weight of the unknown. She lay unconscious in his arms, her body fragile but glowing faintly, a soft rhythm of life and energy that seemed almost alive. Her presence hummed with a strange frequency, one that made the air around them vibrate subtly. Ethan could feel it in his chest, like an echo of something ancient. As they moved, fragments of her mind drifted into his thoughts, visions, half-formed, almost dreamlike. Cities of crystal, towers that shimmered with light, skies filled with strange moons. She was not from anywhere near Earth, she belonged to a world far beyond human imagination. But there was darkness too. Ethan glimpsed chains, not physical, but energy that bound her people, a civilization ruled by fear and oppression. He understood instantly, she was not only escaping a crash, she was fleeing a fate that could have destroyed her entire species. Hours passed. The desert shifted from cold night to the first cold glow of dawn, and Ethan finally found shelter behind a cluster of jagged rocks. He laid her down gently, his mind racing with questions he dared not voice. Who was she? Where had she come from? And what did she mean when she seemed to know him? The girl stirred, blinking as if waking from a long, strange dream. Her eyes glowed faintly silver, tracing the horizon with a mix of fear and urgency. She tried to speak, but her voice was soft, broken, as if each word cost her energy. Ethan knelt beside her. You're safe, for now. Don't try to talk yet. Just rest. Her gaze met his, and for a moment, he felt a connection deeper than words. Then, in a whisper that was almost a thought inside his mind rather than sound, she spoke. Chains, they never stop, they follow me, across stars. Ethan frowned. Chains? What do you mean? She shook her head weakly. Her hand glowed faintly and brushed against a small device on her chest. A holographic image flickered to life, small and blue, showing landscapes, cities, and strange creatures. Ethan leaned closer, seeing what looked like alien soldiers, weapons that pulsed with light, and creatures in fear, their eyes wide with pain. They enslaved my world, she said finally, in words that were easier to hear now, though still halting. We were free once. But the tyrants came, took everything. My people, my family, her voice broke. Ethan could feel the weight of her sorrow, heavy and raw, pressing against his chest like a physical force. Why me? Ethan asked. Why are you here, and why do you trust me? Her eyes glowed brighter, as if the question itself had power. Because you can choose. You are not bound by their rules. You are free. Ethan didn't understand fully, but he sensed the truth in her words. She carried more than her life, she carried the hope of an entire civilization. And she believed, somehow, that he could make a difference. The quiet was shattered by a faint vibration in the air. Ethan froze. The shadows were moving again. Not nearby, but close enough for him to feel the tension, a presence tracking them through the desert. He glanced at the girl. Her eyes widened in alarm, and for the first time, he saw a flicker of fear that went beyond exhaustion. They are here, she whispered. The tyrants, they always follow. Before Ethan could react, a distant shape appeared on the horizon. At first, it looked like a dark cloud, but it moved with impossible precision, gliding silently over the sand. Machines. Sleek, fast, unstoppable. He realized with a sinking feeling that Earth was a temporary refuge, and it was already being breached. The girl stirred again. Her hands glowed faintly, and the energy around her pulsed in waves, almost like a heartbeat in sync with Ethan's own. I can slow them, but not for long, she said, her voice strained. You must hide us, find the path, through the stars. Ethan nodded, adrenaline sharpening his senses. He looked around the desert, thinking of every possible hiding place. But then he noticed something else, small tracks in the sand, faint and precise, leading them toward a narrow canyon. He gestured toward it. This way. It's not much, but it will give us cover. As they moved, the girl began to speak again, revealing pieces of her life. Her name, Lyra. Her world, Oryxis. A planet of light cities and crystal rivers, enslaved by a tyrant race known as the Zark. The chains she spoke of were not just physical, they were a psychic bond the Zark used to control her people. She had escaped because she carried a fragment of power they feared, power that could shatter the chains or destroy everything if misused. Ethan listened, absorbing every word. He had never believed in fate or destiny, but Lyra made him feel as if the universe itself had chosen him, had pulled him into this story. Every instinct screamed that he could not let her fall back into the hands of the Zark. Night fell again, and the canyon offered temporary shelter. The desert stars shimmered above, but Ethan's eyes kept scanning the horizon, aware that they were being hunted. Lyra lay beside him, exhausted but restless, her body glowing faintly in the darkness. She reached for his hand, a gesture of trust, and the same spark that had appeared in the desert earlier flickered once more, connecting them. For a long time, they sat in silence, two beings from different worlds bound by choice and necessity. Chains of fate, Ethan realized, were not always visible. Some were cosmic, invisible, yet powerful enough to shape destinies. Lyra had broken one, but countless others were still following her, across the stars. And he, a human who had never dreamed of such things, had now stepped into a story that could change everything. A faint hum echoed in the distance. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. Something was coming. Not machines, not shadows, but something older, something aware. The hunt was not over. And in the silence of the canyon, he understood one terrifying truth. The chains were never just about Lyra. They were about every choice, every action, every soul that touched her path. And the next choice would be theirs to make. The canyon was narrow, jagged walls rising on both sides, throwing shadows that danced under the faint starlight. Ethan and Lyra huddled together, the desert wind whispering like a distant warning. She lay on a blanket he had made from his jacket, her body still weak from the crash. Yet, there was an energy around her now, quiet but undeniable. It pulsed in the air, stirring the sand, bending light slightly as if the very atmosphere responded to her presence. Ethan could feel it too, a vibration deep in his chest that made him wonder how something so small could hold so much power. Lyra stirred, blinking as her glowing eyes adjusted to the dark. "I'm sorry," she whispered. I don't mean to frighten you." Her voice was soft, but Ethan heard the weight behind it, the burden of centuries, of chains she had never fully escaped. "You don't have to apologize," Ethan said, sitting beside her. I don't understand all of this yet. But I want to." Her gaze lingered on him, and for a moment, he felt the same connection he had when they first met at the crash site. It was strange, unnatural, yet comforting. Then, suddenly, the ground beneath them shivered, faint at first, then stronger. Ethan grabbed her hand instinctively. What is it?" Her eyes widened in alarm. "They're close, but this time, it's different." Before Ethan could ask, a low, resonant hum filled the canyon. Shadows shifted at the edges of the walls, moving in unnatural patterns. Shapes emerged, machines, yes, but unlike any Earth technology he had seen. Sleek, black, almost liquid in their design, gliding across the sand as if alive. And they were not just searching for Lyra, they were scanning, probing, seeking the faint energy that radiated from her. Panic rose in Ethan's chest. "We need to move," he said. Lyra nodded, struggling to rise. Then something astonishing happened. The glow around her hands flared brightly, and the air itself seemed to bend, like a ripple in a pond. Small rocks lifted from the canyon floor, swirling around her in a silent storm. Ethan stepped back, astonished and fearful. "Lyra, what are you doing?" he asked. "I don't know," she admitted, her voice trembling. It just happens sometimes. When I'm scared, when I need to protect myself." The machines hesitated at the canyon's entrance, sensing the energy. Ethan realized in a heartbeat, they were hunting her not just for escape, but because her power was dangerous enough to the Zark that they would follow her anywhere. "I need you to trust me," Ethan said, more firmly than he had ever spoken before. "Whatever happens, We move together. Okay. Lyra's glowing eyes met his, and she nodded. The spark of connection from the desert earlier ignited again, a thread of energy linking them. Together, they ran, Ethan supporting her as they weaved through jagged rocks, moving faster than her exhaustion should have allowed. Every step seemed to make the air hum louder, as if her power responded to the danger surrounding them. They paused briefly behind a massive boulder. Lyra leaned against him, breathing heavily. I can feel them, every move they make, she said. I can see, in ways I never knew I could. But it's tiring. I can't hold it for long. Ethan looked around, thinking quickly. Then we make it short. We need to get somewhere high, where we can see them coming and plan. Can you make it? She nodded faintly, glowing brighter for a brief moment, as if gathering strength from him. Together, they scrambled to the top of a rocky outcrop. From there, they could see the desert stretching endlessly, the night sky full of stars. And in the distance, the machines moved like predators, precise, silent, relentless. Lyra's glow pulsed faster now, brighter, almost like a heartbeat visible in light. Ethan felt it in his own chest, power that was not only hers, but shared, a bond forming between them that neither could fully explain. She turned to him, voice low and urgent. Ethan, I can do something. Something to stop them for a little while, but it will take everything I have. You must hold on. I'm not letting go, he said firmly. With that, she extended her hands, palms outward. A wave of light erupted, sweeping across the desert, twisting the shadows of the machines, bending their sleek forms in impossible ways. Ethan stumbled backward, shielding his eyes as the canyon filled with shimmering waves of energy. The machines faltered, slowed, and then halted completely, as if frozen by an invisible hand. Ethan's heart pounded. You did that. Lyra shook her head, exhausted. I didn't. I just let it happen. She collapsed against him, weak but alive. For a moment, silence returned. The desert seemed to breathe with them, aware of the power they had just unleashed. Ethan looked at her, amazed and terrified. She was no longer just an alien girl, she was something far greater, something the galaxy feared and sought. And yet, in that moment, she was fragile, human in her exhaustion, reliant on him to keep moving, to keep surviving. As dawn approached, painting the desert in shades of gold and pink, Ethan realized the truth. Their journey had only begun. Lyra's power was awakening, unpredictable and dangerous. The machines would not give up. The Zark would not forgive escape. And somewhere, out in the stars, countless chains still waited to be broken, or enforced. He gripped her hand tighter, feeling the pulse of energy, the connection that bound them. We'll get through this, he whispered. Together. Lyra looked at him, faint smile on her lips, glowing softly in the morning light. Together, she echoed. And somewhere beyond the desert, unseen eyes watched, calculating. The human and the alien girl had taken their first steps into a war of fate, power, and freedom, a war that would stretch across galaxies, where trust and courage would be as important as any weapon. The desert was alive with tension. Dawn had barely begun to warm the sand, yet Ethan could feel every grain beneath his boots as if the earth itself was aware of the danger approaching. The machines had not moved since Lyra's display of power, but their silence was far more frightening than any sound. Ethan could feel it. They were calculating, waiting for the precise moment to strike. Lyra's breathing was shallow. She had given everything to repel the machines earlier, and now her glow flickered faintly, like a candle in the wind. Ethan, she whispered. I can't keep this up. You must protect me. Ethan gritted his teeth, determination hardening in his chest. He had never fought anyone, or anything, like this before, but he had a duty now. Not just to a person, but to a civilization that could be saved or destroyed depending on their actions. He scanned the desert, eyes sharp, mind racing. There were rocks, jagged outcrops, narrow gullies, places he could use to make traps, delay the machines, anything to buy time. The first attack came without warning. One of the machines broke from the horizon, moving faster than the eye could follow. Its sleek black surface reflected the rising sun, almost invisible against the light. Ethan grabbed a boulder, rolling it toward the machine. It was a feeble weapon against advanced alien tech, but even a moment's distraction might save them. Lyra stirred, struggling to her feet, weak but defiant. Her hands glowed faintly, and the sand around them shifted slightly in response. Ethan. I can push them back a little longer, but I need you to act. Ethan nodded, adrenaline sharpening his focus. He ran forward, dodging sand sprays and glimmering energy waves that emanated from the nearest machine. He kicked rocks into its path, swung branches and debris, improvising weapons with whatever the desert offered. Each moment he delayed them, Lyra's energy flared, creating a protective shield that shimmered in the early morning light. Another wave of machines arrived, faster, smarter, almost synchronized in their movements. Ethan ducked behind a boulder, heart pounding, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. He had never been a hero, but he realized now that courage was not about skill or strength, it was about refusing to let fear control you when others depended on you. Lyra, exhausted but determined, raised her hands. Her glow expanded, the air bending around her in waves of shimmering light. The machines faltered as if struck by an invisible force. Sand swirled violently, and some of the smaller attackers toppled, unable to maintain balance. Ethan watched, or mixing with fear. "You're amazing," he shouted over the hum of energy. But Or gave way to terror as he noticed the larger machines were adapting. They began to emit pulses that countered Lyra's energy, creating zones of darkness where her light dimmed. She stumbled, pain flickering across her face. Ethan realized instinctively that he had to protect her directly, to shield her from harm while she recovered enough to fight again. He sprinted forward, tackling one of the machine's smaller forms, dragging it toward a cliffside. The metallic creature hissed and struggled, but Ethan's grip was strong. With a heave, he sent it tumbling down the slope. It shattered on the rocks below, but the sound was not victory, it was a warning. More were coming. Lyra sank to her knees beside him, breathing heavily. "Ethan. I can't hold them much longer." He shook his head. "We find another way. We always find another way." Then, as if in answer, the air shimmered around them. Lyra's glow intensified, brighter than ever, and Ethan felt the pulse of energy in his chest echoing hers. She lifted her hands, and this time, the effect was not just defensive. Rocks, sand, and debris rose into the air, swirling in a protective storm around them. The machines approached, but each step slowed, trapped in the energy field she had unconsciously created. Ethan stared in astonishment. You're controlling it. You can fight them." Lyra shook her head, exhausted. "It's not control, it's instinct. I feel what they do, and I respond. But it drains me. I can't keep it up for long." Realization struck Ethan. "Then we move now. Every second counts." He helped her to her feet, leaning on her slightly as they sprinted toward a narrow canyon that twisted through the desert. The machines followed, but Lyra's energy flared again, slowing them. Ethan knew that once they reached the canyon, they could use the terrain to their advantage. The walls would block some of the attackers, force them to approach in smaller numbers, and buy time for Lyra to recover. The canyon was treacherous, with sharp turns and unstable rock formations, but it was the best chance they had. Ethan led the way, guiding Lyra with a steady hand. The machine surged behind them, relentless, but every twist and obstacle gave them precious seconds. Finally, they reached a narrow ledge high above the desert floor. Ethan helped Lyra onto it, her glow dim but steady. He looked out at the advancing machines and realized a terrifying truth: this fight was only the beginning. They had survived the first wave, but the Zark would not stop. Lyra's power was a threat to their control, and now that she had revealed it, they would hunt her without mercy. Ethan turned to her, determination burning in his eyes. "We survived today. That's what matters. Tomorrow, we fight again. But I promise, I won't let them take you. Not now, not ever." Lyra looked at him, exhausted but with a faint smile, her hands glowing softly in the morning light. "Together," she whispered. And as the desert wind swept around them, carrying the hum of distant machines, Ethan understood something profound. Courage was not about fighting alone. It was about standing beside someone, protecting them, believing in them. And together, human and alien, they had broken the first chains. But beyond the dunes, the shadows shifted. The Zark were calculating, observing, and waiting. The war for Lyra's freedom, and the fate of countless worlds, was only beginning. The desert stretched endlessly beneath the burning sky, golden and harsh, yet hiding dangers in every shadow. Ethan and Lyra had survived the first assault, but exhaustion weighed heavily on both of them. Lyra's glow flickered, dimmer now, and Ethan could see the strain etched into her delicate features. Her body was weary, but her eyes burned with determination, a fierce reminder of the stakes they carried. "They're relentless," she whispered, her voice weak but steady. "The Zark, they won't stop. If I return, they will capture me, or worse. And Earth, they might come here too." Ethan clenched his fists. "Then we won't let them. I don't care what it takes. We survive, together." Her gaze lingered on him, and for the first time, vulnerability mixed with hope. "You don't understand, my world, my people. If I go back, I might save them. But I might also die, and drag you into their war. If I stay, Earth is safe, but my people remain chained. I don't know what to choose." Ethan felt a chill run through him. The choice was more than life or death, it was destiny. Lyra's fate was tied to countless others across galaxies, and somehow he had become part of that destiny. His own humanity, his fear, courage, and decisions were now threads woven into the fabric of her story. "Then we make it together," he said firmly. "Whatever choice you make, I'll help. But you don't have to do this alone." Lyra's eyes softened for a brief moment, then hardened again. I have to try. I can't let the chains continue. But the Zark, they're here. They've found us." The ground trembled beneath them. Ethan looked toward the horizon and saw the approaching fleet of sleek, black ships, the Zarka's advanced scouts. They moved faster than thought, surrounding the desert like a living shadow. He realized with a sinking feeling that escape might be impossible. Lyra struggled to her feet, trembling but resolute. Her hands glowed, faint blue light dancing along her fingers. "I can hold them off, just long enough for you to," she faltered, weakness flashing across her face. "Don't talk like that," Ethan interrupted, stepping closer. "We fight. Together. Now." The Zark scouts descended, silent and precise. Ethan and Lyra moved as one, instinct guiding them. She raised her hands, and the air shimmered, a storm of energy swirling around them. Rocks, sand, and debris lifted, spinning in violent harmony. Ethan grabbed a jagged boulder, hurling it at the closest machine, striking sparks from its surface. The machines faltered, caught in Lyra's energy field. But there were too many. Ethan realized quickly that brute force alone would not work. He needed to use strategy, terrain, and the brief moments of weakness he could find. He led Lyra toward a narrow canyon, forcing the Zark scouts to approach in smaller numbers. Every turn, every rock, every shadow became a weapon, a shield, a chance to survive. Lyra's glow intensified, pulsating in rhythm with her fear and courage. Ethan felt it in his own chest, a heartbeat in sync with hers. She whispered, "If I push too far, I might not come back." Ethan shook his head, gripping her hands. "Then I'll hold on to you. No matter what." They reached the canyon's entrance, and Ethan realized the final choice was here. If they stayed, they could fight and survive, maybe, but the Zark would eventually overpower them. If Lyra went back to her world, she might save her people, but Earth could become a battleground, and Ethan could be dragged into a war he barely understood. Lyra looked at him, tears glinting in the glow of her energy. I don't know if I can do both." "You don't have to," Ethan said softly. "You just have to choose one. Whatever it is. I'll be with you." She nodded, determination flickering back. She raised her hands, focusing all her energy, her body glowing brighter than ever. The air warped, shimmering with force. The Zark scouts faltered as a barrier of pure energy erupted from Lyra, stopping their advance. Ethan felt the desert tremble, rocks and sand swirling violently, pushed by her will. "This is it," she whispered. "Whatever happens now, it will change everything." The Zark, sensing her power, regrouped. They emitted pulses designed to disrupt her energy, to weaken her connection to this world. Lyra faltered, pain flashing across her face. Ethan shouted, stepping in, using rocks and debris to shield her. Together, they fought, not just for survival, but for choice. For freedom. For destiny. Then came a silence, brief but absolute. The Zark pulled back, calculating, realizing that brute force alone would not take her. Lyra sank to her knees, exhausted, glowing faintly now but victorious for the moment. Ethan supported her, feeling the pulse of her power ebbing, knowing she had risked everything. You did it," he whispered, awe and relief washing over him. She smiled faintly, exhausted but radiant. "I think we made a choice." Ethan nodded. A choice for freedom. A choice for change. And far beyond the desert, unseen eyes observed. The Zark were retreating, but not defeated. The war was far from over. Lyra's choice had altered destiny, but it had also painted a target on their backs. The path ahead would be dangerous, uncertain, and full of sacrifices. Yet for a moment, Ethan allowed himself to breathe. He had helped break the first chains. And Lyra, alien, powerful, vulnerable, had begun to reclaim her fate. Together, they would step into the unknown, into a future that no one could predict. The desert wind whispered around them, carrying a promise of battles yet to come, of choices yet to be made, of destinies intertwined. And as Ethan looked at Lyra, he realized that courage was not just in the fight, it was in the decision to act, to choose, and to stand together, no matter the cost. The desert lay quiet, but the silence was tense, almost expectant. Dawn had fully arrived, painting the dunes in gold and red, but the air still vibrated with the echoes of battle. Ethan and Lyra stood on a rocky plateau, both exhausted but alive. Around them, the sand had shifted and twisted under the energy Lyra had unleashed. Small craters, jagged stones, and swirls of displaced earth marked the battlefield, evidence of the fight they had survived. Lyra's glow was faint now, almost like a candle struggling against the wind. She leaned on Ethan, who held her steady. "We survived," she whispered, voice weak but determined. "For now." Ethan nodded. "For now. But we can't stay here. They'll come back, stronger, smarter. We have to move, somewhere safe." She lifted her head slightly, eyes shimmering with silver light. "There's a place, beyond this world. A place I've never been, but it calls to me, to us. If we can reach it, we can hide, and maybe, change everything." Ethan looked at her, puzzled yet trusting. "Where? How do we get there?" Lyra hesitated, then touched the small device on her chest. It glowed, projecting a faint holographic map filled with swirling colors and shifting symbols. This is a portal. A wormhole. It can take us to a galaxy far from the Zark." But, her voice faltered. "It's dangerous. I don't know if we'll survive the travel." Ethan didn't hesitate. "We have to try. We've made it this far together. If there's even a chance, we take it." Lyra nodded, placing her hands in his. Energy surged between them, stronger than ever before, as if the bond they had formed over the desert nights had awakened something extraordinary. The device's light expanded, creating a shimmering doorway in the air, rippling like liquid silver. Wind whirled around them, pulling at their clothes and hair, bending light in impossible ways. "Hold on," Lyra whispered, her voice trembling. "It's unstable, we have to trust it, and each other." Ethan gripped her hand tightly. "I won't let go. Not now. Not ever." With a sudden flash, the wormhole expanded, a swirling tunnel of colors and light. Ethan and Lyra stepped through together. The world twisted around them, stars stretching into lines, gravity shifting, air vibrating with cosmic energy. It was disorienting, terrifying, but exhilarating. Ethan felt the pulse of the universe, the immense power of Lyra's energy, and the knowledge that they were leaving everything they knew behind. When the light finally dimmed, they found themselves on a strange, alien world. The sky shimmered with multiple suns, casting soft blue and violet light across landscapes of crystal forests and floating lakes. Strange creatures moved in the distance, some curious, some cautious, all unlike anything Ethan had ever imagined. Lyra's glow, though weaker from exhaustion, flared slightly at the sight. This is it," she whispered, awe in her voice. "A new beginning, a place to hide, and maybe, a place to fight back." Ethan looked around, still absorbing the beauty and strangeness of this new galaxy. "It's incredible, but we're not done yet, are we?" Lyra shook her head. "No. The Zark will come. They always do. But here we can plan. Here we can build something stronger than fear, stronger than chains. For the first time, Ethan felt something he had never felt before, hope. Hope that even in the vastness of the galaxy, even against unstoppable enemies, courage and choice could matter. That one human and one alien girl, bound by trust and determination, could make a difference. As they explored the alien world, Lyra began to show Ethan the small powers she had yet to master. Simple things at first, levitating stones, manipulating light, sensing energy patterns, but he could feel the potential for much more. Together, they started to imagine a future where they could free her people, where Earth might remain untouched, where choices could reshape entire civilizations. Yet, even in this strange sanctuary, Ethan and Lyra knew they were not safe forever. Beyond the stars, the Zark were calculating, preparing, waiting for the right moment to strike. The chains of fate had been broken, but the war for freedom, for survival, was only beginning. Lyra turned to Ethan, her eyes glowing softly in the alien sunlight. Chains may break, but destinies evolve. And now, our story truly begins. Ethan smiled faintly, gripping her hand. Then let's make sure it's a story worth telling. Above them, the alien sky shimmered with possibilities, stars twinkling like promises. And somewhere, beyond the horizon, a new galaxy awaited, a galaxy full of unknown dangers, unimaginable wonders, and the chance to change the fate of many worlds. Together, human and alien, they stepped forward, leaving the desert behind, leaving the Zark hunters behind, and stepping into the future. The universe was vast, mysterious, and waiting. And for the first time, they felt ready to face it, not as prey, but as something more, as allies, as fighters, as changers of destiny.